Welcome back to the SSAS and MDX training sessions. So in last session we discussed about quite a lot of functions in detail, and we have seen a lot of examples. Now let's start fresh, with the new set of functions. So let me select the cube instead of perspective here, and let me have a simple query to start with to start the day. And let's say I'll go with a particular member of the calendar year hierarchy. Actually it is 2016 September. So now, yesterday we discussed, I think, until positive lead, negative lead, positive lag, and negative lag, and also combining range operator with lead and lag functions to get last 12 months data, or next 12 months data, or last 3 years data, whatever is the requirement. Now let's continue with the new set of functions. The first function for today is head function. So what is head function? The name itself says. So head means it will give you the head of the set, or head of the result set. So let's see a simple example. Head functions takes a set or a level. Okay. Now let's see a simple example by going with the same profit in the columns, or profit measure in the columns, and let me get, let's say for example, customer, and let me go to customer, and let me get this customer guy, which gives me the customer information, and it gives you like top n customers information, right? Now I can use head function. Head function take two parameters. One is the level or the set of the members, and the second one is the number, integer, how many you want, like top 10, top 20, top 30, top 40, or head of 20, or something like that. So if I execute this head of 10, it gives me the first 10 results. So the first 10, whatever is there in the list of customers, the customer members, it will return that information. Let's say for example, if I select 100, it will give me first 100. So the number of result set will be 101. And I don't know how many customers we have. If I give more than that, let's say I have given 1 lakh or 10 lakhs here, and if I execute it, it's gonna return whatever it has the max. It has max of 410, and all the records are written. So let me go back to the query with 10. Okay, now this looks pretty good. If I execute this top 10, it gives me top 10. How can I get the top 10 which are not empty? If you see the top, out of the 10, the 6 are nulls. So how can I avoid that? So if I use non-empty, this works fine, but not the expected result. If you see here, the result set is just 4. The reason is, first it is executing and returning the top n or head of our 10 members, and then eliminating the null values. But for us, we need it in the reverse order. So in the reverse order, let's see how. Let's try to give in the reverse order. Instead of giving the non-empty keyword here, let's try to give in head. So first get the non-empty and get the head of it, and if you execute it, it says that the syntax for non is not correct. So in the function, it is trying, when we try to give the keyword, it is crying, saying that it's not gonna work. The reason is this keyword will not work like that. Then what is the alternate for this? So we can use a function called non-empty. So similar to the keyword with the space between non and empty, there is a function called non-empty without space between these two. Let's see how to use the non-empty function here. So this is different from keyword. So if I take the same one, and the function will be without space, and all the functions should be in the parentheses like this. Okay, I'm asking the server to give me non-empty customers and then get the top head count or top 10 count of these guys. Now if you see, this non-empty is working on the set of members, and what non-empty it is taking, whatever is there on the rows for now. If you don't specify anything in the second parameter, non-empty takes 2 parameters. The first one is set of members and the second one is the measure based on which you want to filter the non-empty records. So if you don't specify in the second parameter, if you see this is the non-empty function that I've used, there is no second parameter specified. So it tries to get the non-empty for what you call whatever the measure that is available. So the measure is profit, so it will go by profit. Instead, you can specify explicitly like get me the non-empty of this set. I mean, based on the profit, it should not be empty. Get me the top 10 records. So this is how it works. The second function, if you want to filter the empty cells based on a different measure than what you are showing on the columns, you can do that. You can give, let's say, for example, if I copy the same query, instead of profit, I can go by tax amount. So let's keep an eye. There are some values coming here. If these guys does not have the tax amount, the same thing will be repeated. If this guys has zero tax amount, one of these, then it will not be shown. It will be filtered. Okay. So that is how it works. So first what will happen is the inner function will be executed. So it will try to get the customer's information where the guys are having at least some value for the tax amount, and then it will get the top 10 values and then 10 values by the and for those 10 values it will give you the profit value. So this is how the function works. And also you can give multiple, like for example, this tax amount should not be empty, and also it's a set again. These are two same hierarchies, right? Measures. And also the profit should not be empty. In this, so get me all the customers where the tax amount and the profit is not empty, then get the head of 10. And if you execute it, first it will evaluate like get me the non. So this non-empty function is very, very, very useful in improving the performance. Okay. If you can't use, like if you want to filter the attributes, if you don't want to get all the levels, let's say an attribute hierarchy has 2 crore records, 2 crore members. I'm not kidding. This is a reality. You will have 2 crore records in an attribute hierarchy in few cases. So if you have 2 crore and if you want to filter it before applying anything, so not all the 2 crore will have the sales information. So if you want to filter, you can use the non-empty function instead of using non-empty keyword, because the non-empty keyword will be executed at the end. First, it will return all the 2 crore records and then it will check for the blanks. On the other side, the non-empty function first filters the data and then returns only that has some valid value. So that is the advantage of non-empty function, and this is how we can use head and non-empty function to get the top, not top by profit, first 10 customers or whatever which has some profit. Okay, this is about head and non-empty. So similar to head, we have one more function called tail function. So the name itself is pretty clear. It gives you the last 10 records or last 15 records. So if I copy the same queries, instead of head, if I give tail, it gives me last 10 customers, whoever are there. It's not by the profit amount or anything. Remember that. This is not sorting and it is not getting the least profit customers. It just pull the last 10 customers. So if you see, if you remember, we order these attributes in the ascending order, right? So last one will be always with toys. I mean, W, it starts with W or Z or X, something like that. So let's run both together now with a go keyword in between. And the first one is giving uh, the top 10. I mean, without, I don't have the non-empty here. And the bottom one, if you see, it is giving the from the bottom. So this is the difference between tail and the head. As the name says, the head will give you top, whereas the bottom will give you head will give you the top and or the first, and the tail will give you the last. And The same way you can use the non-empty function for the tail also. If you use non-empty function similar to what we have used for head, it will filter if there are any null values, and then it will return the result set. For example, if I have a tail of 100, there may be some null values. No, there are no null values. Good. Let's say if I give 200, there may be at least one. Looks like all the nulls are on top. So if you have null values, you can just use the same head function, non-empty function instead of keyword to filter the data first and then return the top set of records. So now we have seen the top and bottom, right? Now let's go back to the members again. We have seen how to get its children, how to get its parent, and how to go to siblings, how to go to first sibling, last sibling, and so on. A lot of functions related to the siblings and the family, particularly being very helpful in the user-defined hierarchies. Now let's see a new function, previous member. So the previous member function accepts a member as a parameter. Let's say, let me take the first query. So here, if you see, it's gonna return the September 2016 data. So this is a member, and I don't need this non-empty keyword for now, for time being. So this is a member. So if I know the number, and if I want to show the previous member instead of this current member, then you can use previous member dot prev member. So what this one will do is this will go into the hierarchy and it will get the previous member, whatever it is, before the September. If you see before September, it is August, right? So instead of returning September, it gives me the previous member of it. And if I execute dot previous member, it's gonna give me maybe July if it is ordered and if it has data properly. And like that, if I give 10 previous members, it's gonna go back by 10 and it returns whatever the month that comes here. If you see, it is coming to Jan. And if I add one more pre member, it's gonna go to December of the previous year, like this. So this previous member function takes a member as an input and it's gonna go back by one member. The same way, we have another set of another function called next member, so which you can easily explain by seeing the name and with the knowledge that you have about the previous member. So the next member will give you the next member of the member that you have passed as the input parameter. So the input is September 2016. If I give next, it will go to October. And what will happen if I give you one more next? Any guess? You won't guess. I know. So if I give one more next member, it will return nothing, no data, because there is no data for the November. So the data is blank. And if I give one more next member, if the calendar is having this December value, it gives you the December value, but there is no data for it as far as I know. So the next member will take you one step ahead or one member ahead. And this is not only for dates. Remember, this works for any attribute or any hierarchy member. What you need to do is you need to pass a member. Let's quickly see what happens if I give, let's say, for example, a particular customer. So instead of this customer, it should show the next customer. So the customer is Tailspin Toys and Rexio, somewhere here, right? And I'm gonna give only one next member. So if I execute it, this should go to the next member. Oops, when I click the wrong one, this happens. If I execute it, this is giving me Anna Moria WV. And if you see the Andric CO next member, it is WV. And if I go for one more next member, this is gonna be the same. So what will happen if I give, instead of any of these, if I give all member? You know, we have all member, right? So will it go to the next member? Yes, it will go to the next member, but there will be nothing for the all. At that level, all is the only member and it will be returning nothing. So let's see what happens if I give something which is not available. Let's say, for example, I know there is no customer with the name Rupesh. I'm asking to give the next member name. What will happen? So it will look for the Rupesh and it will go to try to go to the next member, but Rupesh itself is not available, and hence it will return nothing. So this is how previous member and next member works. And you can use this previous member, next member along with the range functions, which doesn't make much difference. Let's say if you want to see yesterday's data, tomorrow's data, and today's data, if you select any date, in that case you can use this kind of function along with the range. If you see here, open this, and first I would like to, if I know the member, then I like to go to the previous member colon for the same member, next member. So starting from the previous member of the member that I have specified or passed as an input until the next member, give me all the members. So it will be three. Oops, something I missed here, maybe some parenthesis or something like that. Let me quickly check. Yes, is missing. Good. So if you see here, if I execute it, so it gives me the current member, previous member, and the next member, because I'm using this function's previous member and the next member by tagging it to the current member, and I'm asking for the range. So this is how you can mix and match the different functions in SS. You can mix the different SSAS MDX functions, and you can play. And this is a beautiful thing. The MDX functions, you can retrieve different kinds of results that is helpful in generating your reports and dashboards. Now let's jump into the next set of what you call keywords or functions. So we discussed about a lot of functions so far. Let's see how you can filter the data. Filtering data, which is very important. You don't want to show everything in every report, right? You have to filter by passing some parameters. So the filtering can be, whether you observed it or not, we already started filtering by using a member or by using a set. So that is nothing but a filtering. Instead of all the months, you are showing only 3 months in the report that you are seeing in the screen at present. So that is a filtering. You are filtering the data by passing the member. So let's see by going with the different ways we can filter the data. The first one is where class. Where class is most commonly used, where you will have all the filter condition in your where class. Let's see how to create a query with the where class. Before that, let me take a simple one with some data. I'm going with this, and I'm not going with the head or tail functions here. And let me return the simple result. So now I have this data. I can have a where class here, where, let's say, if I want to get the sales only for a particular month of the invoice date. So in that case, I can go to the month level number or month label to be better. Where is that? Here is the label. And if I go to here, then I'll get all the, let's say I want to see 2015 data. So the same member, whatever you want to filter, will be added to your where class. If you do that, then all the data will be filtered. And if you see, the numbers are pretty small because it is only 1 month data. So similarly, if you want to see 2 months data, how can you filter that? It's pretty simple. So you know the concept set, right? So 2 months means both the months are having the same hierarchy, so it's going to form a set. So in that case, it's going to be a set. So for the month 1 and 2, I want to see the sales. So if I execute this query, the numbers will be little higher than before because I'm seeing the data for 2 months here. So the 2 months data is here, and this is filtered by 2 calendar months using the where class. Now, let's see, I want to see the data 2015 month 1 and month 2, where deliver date is also the same. We have deliver date, right? If I'm not wrong. Okay, yeah, deliver date also in the same month. So which the invoice is raised in Jan and Feb and delivered also in the same month. So in that case, you can see when I drag and drop, let's say if I drag and drop this delivered date or delivered month label, which one I'm interested in, it is Jan 2015, and let me go for one more, that is Feb 2015, form all forming a set. If I execute it, oops, I should have done something. Okay, let me copy it. Okay, let me take a new query. So if I try to give delivered month in the same for delivered in the month of Jan and Feb and invoiced in the month of Jan and Feb of 2015, if I execute it, it's gonna fail because the members of the set. Okay, if you see here, this is a set and the hierarchy is different for few members. Let's say this hierarchy is matching with the second one, that is calendar month label, but not matching with the third one and not matching with the fourth one. So these two are one category and these two are another category. How we can handle that? So you have to group all the sets that belongs to one hierarchy into all the members that belongs to one hierarchy into a set. So if this should end here and the next one should start here because these two belongs to a set. These two belongs to one attribute hierarchy, right? Or one hierarchy. So now, again, I did some mistake. I just want to keep the query for your reference. Let me copy it here. Now I created two sets. What is that? Here is one set and I created another set. So what will happen if I execute it? If I execute it, it's going to fail again because the query is syntax is not correct. The comma is like orphan here. How, I mean, so this is one set, that is fine. This is another set. So but all the sets should be in a parenthesis or in a tuple. So multiple sets, everything should be grouped into a tuple here. So you cannot orphan it or you cannot have two. It will treat it as up to here one query and then it is asking what is this comma. They should be continuous. When you say where, okay, it started here and it ended here. If you don't have this parenthesis, then it will treat as okay, up to here it is the condition where class, then what is this comma and all the shit after that. So that's why it is failing. Now if I execute it, this tries to return the result where the invoice date is and the delivered date is on first and second months of year 2015. So this is how this is the weight class, nothing more than that. You cannot do magics with the weight class. You can do whatever we have discussed so far, everything you can do here. Like you can use range function, you can use what you call we are going to discuss more and more functions. So you can use all those functions. Let's say, for example, I'm copying the same query and I'm taking out the complete weight class and going back to the yesterday's session. And I don't know what this range is because I don't remember what the range is. I can use the same range in my weight class. Based on that range, it will filter the data and it will return the result set. So the result set is profit of the customers where the invoice date month is 12 months before 1st of 2014 to 1st of 2014. So that means maybe 2013 Feb to 2014 Jan. It is returning all the data. So you can use functions, you can use all kind of stuff in your weight class too, like range operators. This is the beauty of weight class. So now there is one simple problem in MDX. The problem is if you use any hierarchy in any axis, I hope you still remember the axis. So 0 is one axis, 1 is one axis. Similarly, weight class is also an axis. So if you use any hierarchy or any level, any hierarchy in any of the axis, the same hierarchy can't be used in the other axis. Let me show you a simple example. You all know that if I drag, let's say, calendar month label here, on observe this, I'm giving 1, which means it is rows, and I'm giving, let's say, customer on columns from worldwide importers. Okay, so here it is trying to give the default measure, whatever I have, default measure for all the customers on the columns and all the months, invoice date, delivered date, month on the rows. Now, as usual, let me use non-empty and non-empty on the rows. This gives me only the non-empty rows and non-empty columns, which has some data, right? Now, the problem that I was talking about is if you use any level or any hierarchy in any of the axes, you cannot use the same in the other axis. Let's say if I want to filter it by deliver date dot calendar month, I want to see only August data. If I execute it, the error message is pretty clear for this. The calendar month label hierarchy already appears in axis 1. So the axis 1 is this one, and it's already referenced in another axis, so you cannot use the same. Then how can I filter it? If you want to filter it, then simply use it in your axis. Let me copy the query. Let me have this for your reference. And if you want to filter it, then you can take it and you can use it in your columns. In that case, you don't need any rows. In that case, you don't need any rows, any weight class at all. So this is the most common error that you will encounter when you're working in MDX. The same axis is used in, the same hierarchy is used in more than one axis. Remember, the same hierarchy is not allowed. So this is how you can handle the filter class if you want to filter the data of any particular hierarchy. Okay. So this is one way of. There is another way that you can filter, which we will be discussing maybe when we talk about the subcubes. Okay. Now let's jump into the next one. Similar to what you call the way class, we also have an except function. It's a pretty common name. You can easily understand what this is gonna do. So this is gonna return all the members except something. So like say for example, in the earlier case, you are getting everything. Sorry, you're not getting everything. You're getting only August 2014 data. Now, if I want to see all the data except August 2014, then I can use the except function. So the syntax will be like this: except, I cannot pronounce it properly. It will take two parameters. The first parameter will specify the level of it. So give me all the members of it, of this particular level, except the guy that I specified in the second parameter. So except this particular guy, give me everything. So if I execute it, this gives me all the results, except if you try to see 2014 August, right? You will not find that. If you see after July, it's going to September. So it is filtering the data for that particular member that is given in the second parameter of the except function. Similarly, you can have multiple getting filtered. Like for example, I can have a set in the second parameter. I don't want to get January and August of 2014. So if I execute it, you will see everything except Jan 2014. Maybe here you see Jan is missing right after this, and August of this. So this is how you can use set of members in the except function. So let's quickly see what else you can do. I don't remember many. If there are any, we can see that. I'm just trying to see the syntax parameters, what it accepts and so on. So except function, if you see set expression and set expression 2, a valid MDX expression that returns a set, valid MDX return that returns a set. So this makes perfect. So now let's try with one thing. Why I've seen the syntax is just to try something. Will that work or not? At least I have not tried it. So what I'm trying here is The first is set of members, and the second one, instead of the month, let me try to give an year and see if it's gonna filter. And if it's gonna filter, it will be a beautiful option, right? So if I select 2014, so will it give only the members of 2014? No, the member tuples or set must be of the same hierarchies in the except function. Here it is. Here is the catch. So if you specify a level here, a hierarchy here, the same hierarchy should be used in the second parameter too. So this is not going to work. That is why you can filter. If you're using except function, if you specify a hierarchy or hierarchy attribute in the first parameter, the same hierarchy, it should be common across all the parameters. The same hierarchy can be used in the except function. Now let's see something different. Filter. Just like except function, you can filter it. So this is little different. So the filter function filters the data. Whatever, you can filter the data by a measure, or you can filter the data by another attribute, and so on. Let's see. Let me take a new query, select, and I'm gonna see profit, and I'm gonna see tax amount or tax rate on my columns, and let's say I'm gonna see the same customer on rows. Oops, from the database wide will import as DW. So if I execute it, this is gonna give me all the records that I have for the profit and the tax rate matrix. Now let me have a simple filter. Filter will take the first parameter as set, like just like an except function, and the second parameter can be any Boolean result set. Like for example, if I go for filter on this, filter the customer by, I can give anything here, any valid Boolean result set, or any valid which returns either true or false. So let's say, for example, if I want to see where profit greater than 100 or 0. If I give profit greater than 0, then it will filter all the, it should filter all the blank, all the null values. Now if you see, it is returning, it is filtering the customers by the measure where profit greater than 0. Now let's see a little better one. So here if you go profit greater than 0, instead of that, let me give this value, and most of the value should get off here. If you see the number of records, it is returning 404, and if I execute it, it is returning very little, just 248. And if you see, any value of this will be greater than, oops, the first one itself, oh yeah, this is 1300, not 103. So any value that you have in the result set should be greater than 1034866.8. so this is how you can use filter function. The beauty about the filter function is you can have more and more. Like for example, I can have two conditions, like where profit greater than so and so, and I can use tax amount or tax rate greater than. I have multiple values that I'm seeing. If I go by this, so now if both are valid, then only it returns the data. As far as I remember, it was 204 or something. Oh, sorry, 214 or something. It filtered two more records and it returns 211. And if you see, any value of the tax rate will be greater than this, and any value of the profit will be greater than this. So similarly, you can have an R class. So this gives me everything, either it is greater than this value or greater than this value. So if you see, this value is returning because this value, the profit, is greater than 1034 something and so on. Now, how can I get the negate of this? The whole stuff, whatever you are saying here, can I negate this? So instead of getting these values, give me everything. So how can I do that? So less than this and less than this. So this gives me only the values that are less than this and less than, where the profit is less than this value and the tax rate is less than this value. And you see any combination that you're seeing here is the negation of the other one. Or you can do one more thing, one more keyword you can use. You have this whole condition given here. I can keep it in one parenthesis and I can use not. So if the inner one returned true, it will be negated. It will be treated as false. So it gives you all the values except that. If I execute it, it will give you the negation of it. You see that actually I've given a condition like profit greater than 1034866.8 or tax rate is so and so. Now either this one will be less than or this one will be less than. If you see one example where 41280 is here, okay, and the value is less than, the profit is less than this, which means I'm negating the whole boolean value that I'm getting here. If this says okay, yes, this is true, then it will negate it. No, don't show that. And if it says no, this is not true, then negate it. So show this record. So everything will be negated by using and. Another beautiful option using using the filter is, which you can use a lot in your calculations while you work on the calculations, is you can also use an attribute members. Not only measure wise filters, you can also use the attribute members. So I'm giving a simple example by using current member. Don't try to understand this current member. The name says it's a current member, but we will discuss more while we talk about the calculations in MDX. So where current member dot name will give you what is the name of it. For example, let me show you a simple example so that you will get some idea. Okay, I'm just showing you just for your example. So here I'm writing a measure current member dot name. I'm including in my measures list, and if I execute this T returns whatever the name of it, right? So now let's try to use the same. I don't need that the calculated measure. I just showed you how the result set will be when I use the current member. Now I'm gonna use this current member dot name, where current member dot name equal to, let's say, not applicable. So this returns only the members. It won't care about the tax amount or tax rate or the profit. It cares about only the current member name is NA or not. So it returns only that particular set of data. And the same way, you can use negation on it. So show me everything except not applicable or NA. So this returns everything except not NA. And also the good option is while you are working on this kind of filter criteria, you can also use mix of things. Like for example, not equal to NA, and I can go for tax rate greater than 10,000 or 20,000. So if I give 40,000, what it will return? It will try to return only those guys that are not applicable and tax rate less than 1 second. It should be R, my bad, to meet whatever I'm interested into. So if you see, it is gonna get anything less than or equal to 40,000, or and the not applicable is taken out, right? So this is how if you're clear about the requirements, what you want, you can use the mix of measures as well as attribute levels on its members in the filter condition. And also it is not mandatory to use only the measures that you are seeing on the columns. You can use a measure that is not at all. Let me take out this to avoid a little bit of confusion. So instead of this, you can go for something which is not at all there. I don't know whether the quality or quantity is greater than 40,000 for all these things or not, but definitely for these records, the quantity is greater than 40. or the customer name is not applicable. So this is returning because the customer name is not applicable, and the remaining things is returning because the quantity is greater than 40,000. So this is how you can use the filter condition to filter the data by attribute members as well as measures, and also combination of these two. And this function will be very helpful when you're working on the calculations. Cool. Next, let's go to the next functions. Top count. The very useful function when you are getting the top sales or bottom sales. Okay. Like for example, if I want to get top 10 customers by profit, how can I get that? So top count is the best function for you. So the top count function takes three parameters, and the minimum is I think 2. Let me try with one. I'm giving top count of customers, simple with just single parameter, and let me try to execute it and what it's going to return. So too few arguments, as I mentioned. It requires at least 2. So what are those two functions? Two parameters. Let me show you that. So the first one is top count. Give me the top count of what? Of what measure? So let's say if I want to, maybe 3 parameters is minimum. Let me go. If I give the measure like top count of the profit, then it is giving me all the results. The reason is I'm not specifying what is the number that I'm looking for. So if I'm asking the server to give the top customers by profit, but how many? I've not specified that. So if I specify that, you see a different result, and the how many should be in between. Let's say I want to get the top 10 customers by profit, and if I execute it, it gives me top 10 customers by profit. And this is how you can get the top 10 customers. So if I specify different measure which is not available, still it works. Let's say for example I specified give me top 10 by quantity, but show the profit and the tax rate of those 10 customers. So the top 10 customers will be filtered by quantity, but the values will be, and if you see the values here, this is bigger than this, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This value is bigger than this, but still it is showing first. The reason is this guy has more quantity than this guy. So it is ordering top 10 by the quantity, and then it is returning the profit and the tax rate of it. So this is about the top count or top top count function. Similarly, there is an opposite function, opposite to this, that is bottom count. So if you go to bottom count, it's gonna be same exact, but the count, but the function is bottom count. If I execute this, this gives me the last 10. If you see the last 10, these are the last 10 values or bottom count values. And if you don't want to see the null, and give me the non-empty of these customers where profit is not blank. So what will happen is the inner function, which is the non-empty of the customers by profit, will be calculated first, and it will get all those guys, and then it will get the bottom 10 of the customers by profit. If I execute it, this gives me all the non-empty last 10 guys. So this is the difference between bottom count and the top count. So it's quite opposite, and in result set, and this is a very useful feature for reporting top 10 customers or bottom 10 customers who are not performing good at all, and so on. Similarly, you have top sum and bottom sum functions. So the top sum and bottom sum functions are very much close to the top count and the bottom count, but the only difference is that the second parameter should specify what is the sum. So for example, if I specify select top sum function instead of count here, and if I give 10, then it will try to order by profit in the descending, and it will try to get the maximum value that it can get, or maximum number of rows that it can get to meet the value of the given that value that I have given in the middle. So the value that I have given is $10. So how many top records are required to get or to meet the $10? So the first record itself is far away from this, right? But I'm giving an example here. So let me add it. Let me give this number. Then this will be written only one or two, maybe a close one, or this should be why I'm getting two. Maybe the closest it says two because I'm going by profit. Let me add, instead of 53, let me add 63 and let me execute it. This may have written two more records or three more records. And if I go to the sum of it, if I go for Excel and if I copy it, so remember the intermediate value, the second parameter should be the sum of values that you are seeing. If you see, it is coming close to 2, 6, 3, 5, 6, 6, 6, 4, 6. 2, 6, 3, 2 here I've given, but this comes close. And if I've taken out this, then this will be 2 away from it. But I have no idea why when I've given this, it is showing multiple. Like for example, if I go here, but that's how the functionality is. This is the actual value. Let me give it as 1 and see how many it's gonna return. This is returning only 1. So when I give the equal value, then it is trying to get a little more. That's how it is working, the function working. But remember, the intermediate value or the intermediate parameter, the middle parameter should specify what is the value that you want to return. Or let's say, for example, you want to get the top customers who contributed to $10 million or $100 million of the profit. So if you specify this $100 million number here, then it will get the top customers who contributed to the value of $100 million. So they are the best guys. So top N number of customers made $100 million for the year so and so. So this is how you can use top sum. Similarly, you can use bottom sum function. So you have to specify the same value. So the biggest value that I have in the, for the unknown profit is given, and I'm going for bottom sum. You see how many has to, it is returning so many to meet this value. If I copy this, all the profits, and if I paste it, and if you see the sum, it will be 254314. If it is very close to the value here, right? So it tries to get the number of records either from top or from the bottom, which profits, whose profit or whose this measure you specified in the third parameter will be very close to this guy. So that is how the bottom sum and the top sum works. So now, the same way, you have top percent and bottom percent functions. This is same like what you call top sum and bottom sum. So let me show you top percent and bottom percent. So if I execute this, this is gonna take as a percentage. If I give 10%, then it will try to get the top number of records which contributed 10% of the total profit. If I give 50%, it makes more sense. If I give 50%, and if I execute it, it will return some records. And if I see the data, this value will be 50% of the total profit. Now let me get 100 just to show you an example. So I'm running for 100, and if I take the profit and if I take this value here, it is going to, if you see, 68 something, whereas this is coming to 34. 34 to 34, 34 plus 34 is 68, right? So this is how it works. If you specify 50, it will try to retain all the customers who contributed 50% of the profit. The same way I can give 90%, or let's say 25%, it gives you the number of customers, top customers who contributed 25. The first guy, unknown guy itself, is 25% of the total sale. You can see that 25, it starts with 25, whereas the total is 70, close to 70, and it can't split it, so it is giving the first one record, which is contributing to 60, 25%. If I specify 30, I may get 2 more or 3 more in extra. No, this is contributing 30% too. Let's go for 35, even 35. So how can I go, let's say 45? This should return few records in extra. So this contributes 45%. Let's say if I give 40, then the top, how many records will contribute 40% of the profit will be written here. And you see it returns 17 records. So that's how it works. Similarly, the bottom, if I give 10%, you'll get most of the records because it takes from the bottom. And you see how many records it has written. It has written 89 records. And if you see the value, it will be 10% of it. And if you see the value, it is 69. And the total sales is 685, one extra value. So 10% of it is 69, very close. If you see the number of digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whereas this one will have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 of 69 or 68.5. Out of that, 10% is this one. So this is how the top percent and the bottom percent. So the functions are pretty close when the name itself explains what it is. What you need to know is how many parameters and what parameters. And to know that, what you can do, if it is not on top of your mind, search for top percent or bottom percent, whatever. Like let's say top percent, it will give you the parameters or the syntax. It takes the set expression. What we have given in our example is customer, and percentage, what is the percentage, and the numeric expression, what measure you want to go with. And that's how you can use this function. That's how you can use these functions in your MDX. So that's about the functions. Top count, top percent, bottom percent, top sum, and bottom sum. Okay, we will see more functions. We will see how to order the data and how to create calculations in the next session. Thank you guys for joining this session. Have a great day.